Well, freak out, there's music. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another one-on-one with me and Bubba, as we are going to spend the evening talking about mega dungeons. So Bubba, what is it that you love about mega dungeons?
Let me turn that down. I keep my phone within hand's reach because there's so much going on with my grandkids. The playability for investment and value is years worth. Instead of, and they did that for a while. Look at some of these little tiny, thin modules we used to buy, and they were all in a series.
Yep.
And you had to fill in the filler between them, right?
Yep.
You don't have to do much filler with a mega dungeon. It's all right there. It's super great if you're going to have an open table when a lot of people with different schedules, people drop in, drop out, because they all know what the general goal is. But make playability and value. Get rich or die trying, son. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Or defeat the big, usually most mega dungeons have 3 layers of story in them, right? The story that you think you know, rumors, and then what's actually going on, the DM info, and then what's really going on, the meat of the module, the meat of the whole thing, right? Which could either be just a standalone place where you go to do Monster Dome, or there's other stuff going on that you can bridge out into a whole campaign. Sans Temple of Elemental Evil. That's a regional thing. It's also a mega dungeon that's reaching out and affecting the world. Undermountain, that's Monster Dome. It's not going to do much underneath that to affect Waterdeep. Castle Greyhawk, Monster Dome. There's not much going on in there that reaches out. Stonehill, the malignance chaos spreads. Highfell, once the campaign starts, you got TikTok. If you don't beat them, they're going to blow up a city. Stuff like that. So there is a goal for most of these places. Or you can just make it a fun house. That comes down to play style. Some people just want to kill things.
Yeah. For me, what you said at the beginning really resonated, because I was going to put it in different words, but you really do condense the action and the excitement into this one location, instead of a wandering monster here out in the woods, a wandering monster there in the hills, the swamps, whatever. It's all concentrated, and you have to be on your A game when it comes to the survivalist in you, and the critical thinker, and the observer. You have to pay really a lot more attention when you're doing the traveling from point A to point B, whether it be dungeon to town to dungeon, or town to town. You really don't give two shits about what the trees look like, unlike what Tolkien would have us believe. But then again,
Trees are interesting.
They are, but back when he was writing the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, they were more like travelogues for people who didn't get out, and people cared about those things a little more than they do now, or I should say a lot more, because most people don't give two shits about one kind of tree to the next, not realizing that well, if there's pine trees, you're not going to starve. Which the Donner Party knew that, but they didn't, which is weird, because even the Indians who were with them didn't know that. Friggin' pine tree keep you alive for.
It's regional. Not all tribes were fully adversed. There was no Gestalt knowledge for these people, right?
Yeah.
Regional.
despite what some people would have us think,
Yeah.
they weren't they weren't as in tune with nature as we've sort of exaggerated it. I don't know why. Uh,
Yeah. You can actually make it. Speaking of soda, something you can make a pine soda.
yep, yep.
It's like a ginger ale. Yeah.
Needle
It's a
tea,
big, massive boost of vitamin C if you got a cold. But
the needle tea, the sap, the white bark underneath the regular bark. Well, not bark, but the fibrous material, which I hear is actually kind of sweet. I've never
yeah.
tried it, but it just it's just one of those things. And for the mega dungeon, that's where you get to use all of your real world knowledge. Let's
Yeah.
face it, people, uh, the GM rarely, says, "Oh, your character wouldn't know that," uh, but you get to
I do on
use all.
occasion. Usually it's about lore, mainly for the players. Like my barbarian would know all the cleric lore. What? Not necessarily. But with describing locations, when you're in a mega dungeon, you're making multiple forays, right? So changing the dungeon dressing from one room that you've been in before, if things change, if players don't notice that, they will get ambushed. And also, it also alerts you to if there's other adventuring parties in here, or if there's a new group of for restocks, if there's new tribes of humanoids, or the dungeon's reacting to your forays, right? What really scares my party is when they see graffiti up that wasn't there before of other people writing "searched." I mean, there's another adventuring party, and they're way more dangerous than a bunch of goblins.
That's. I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't know if you remember that in the DMG they had that chart
Yeah.
for for character types, where like a first level character might have a 20% chance to have an item off table one, all the way up to like 11th
Yeah.
level. You create a party of 6 adventurers, the 7th level. They're going to have some of the best treasure in the dungeon.
They'll also be what more deadlier.
Yeah.
Because if you roll a truly random party and it's magic user heavy, you're going to be, if you don't get surprised or if they see you first, you're going to be eating some high level spells if they're of the intent to do harm, right? They could be another group of good adventurers. If you roll a bunch of paladins, they're not going to ambush you.
No, but they may do a detect evil and realize you got a bunch of chaotic neutrals in the party and figure, you know what, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, your assassin, your priest, your cleric is over 5th level and he's evil. He radiates. I don't believe low level evil characters actually radiate evil unless they've done heinous things, unless they're actively thinking of doing heinous things or murder towards like the paladin. But once you get to a certain level as cleric, the taint is real.
What's up, George? Yeah. For me, it's kind of a no brainer. It's right there in the title, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
No, that's where all the fun is. That's where your thief really gets to shine. That's where the fighter has the most opportunity to get in some real fighting, besides just fighting with men at arms or bandits or townsfolk, which they really shouldn't be doing. Uh, you know, who doesn't want to come back with a story of fighting bugbears or were critters or undead? I mean,
I found the fabled jewel of insert random and hooked on phonics words together to get you your fancy jewel. Or plundered the crypts, or plundered the dragon's lair.
The cover of the first edition player's handbook, to this day, is still my favorite cover. It says it all right there.
And I can't believe people think that's something other than an Efreet.
No, the player's handbook.
Yeah, Efreet statue.
Oh, I thought it was like Moloch or something.
They always said it was a demon lord, but in the original stuff, I always thought it was an Efreet. I mean, the door out the side goes right to the rest of the City of Brass.
Maybe I didn't. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, we opened the whole thing up. It's a whole portrait. It's a one thing.
You mean with the lizard man and the adventuring party?
I might be picturing in my head wrong, but I thought the one that they're jabbing the jewel out. I think that's an Afridi.
Well, they're also dragging lizard men bodies.
Yeah.
Because those were the guardians of the room. The thieves are trying to steal the gem. Big mistake. Everybody knows that, but you know.
It's higher than that for dragons. My Highfell group's already killed a dragon. And they got really lucky because it would have wiped them if it got to breathe.
You know, my party just tangled with a couple of dragons. They took one out, but then the other 3 showed up.
Yeah. They got cocky. Rolling over at Shadow Dragon made them cocky, and then they met that spectator, and the spectator was mopping the floor with them. It's amazing. I never pictured a spectator being such a terrifying. And now they know there's multiple spectators in that dungeon. They're not going back. Like, nope. Why'd you think we called it the Vault of Eyes? Like, oh no, we're out.
Yeah, I think that it's right there in the name. You know, again, you know.
Good thing is as you're exploring these towers, these dungeons, you learn the names of the dungeons as part to find the information out. Exploring the towers. So they don't really have names for these places until they find them or a reference to it. And then they're like, oh.
Gotcha. So what was like your or what is your biggest inspiration, or what was?
For making them or just playing them?
Making them. When you go to create one.
It's general media. It's what I've been reading, whatever's inspiring me.
For me, it's always been the Mines of Moria.
Really?
Oh yeah. See, prior to because at first I read Lord of the Rings, then I read Lord of the Rings, or The Hobbit, then Lord of the Rings. And prior to that, you know, I had very little Conan experience, a few of the magazines, but it really didn't, you know, give you that dungeon sense. But when I read the Mines of Moria, that whole chapter, it's just oppressive. You're you know, a mile or more underground, and there's all this evil shit that I'd never heard of, you know, for the most part. And you know, then the Balrog comes. You know, it's just
gotta have a Balrog. Then you probably like Drowndeep. Check out Drowndeep, and that is a fallen dwarven city civilization by Greg Gillespie. So that's like his 3rd mega dungeon he did. And it's very much leaning heavy into Descent to the Depths of the Earth and the Moria stuff.
Because you know, it's funny. I was reading the Lost Dungeons of Tannisbarg and the Palace of the Vampire Princess, or whatever, you know, the original first dungeon modules, if you will.
Yeah.
And every one of them's got a freaking Balrog in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it was just like one step up from Troll. You know, it's not that rare. Oh, it's just a Balrog.
You go too deep, you'll find bunches of them.
Right? It just always struck me as funny as that should be a once in a freaking campaign encounter, unless you don't kill it and it comes back.
Yeah, and then that evolved into a Type 6 demon. Then the Balrog became just a Type 6 demon to fight. And I don't think there was a devil version of a Balrog.
The Pit Fiend.
Yeah, the Pit Fiend. And if you had to pop Pit Fiends, that's high end stuff right there.
Right. You're going to need a party of 9th levelers to get out of that. Just
depends how big, because I kill a party of 9th level guys with Pit Fiend. Easy.
Okay.
Easy. First you do is gate. Gate first.
Gate. Everything you gate also gates. The next
No,
thing you know, you're.
I've always prevented that, the chain gating, because then you can't win.
Well, yeah, but you know, who says they have to win?
I know it's put a little bit of balance in there. But for fiction or whatever, I don't really remember having anything that inspired me to Mega Dungeon. I think the first Mega Dungeon I ever encountered was at Castle Greyhawk. It was not Temple of Elemental Evil like a lot of other people. It was.
I went through Temple of Elemental Evil with Bloodworth, so that's 45 years after starting playing. I went through it like a year and a half
I've never
ago.
finished it. I've never finished it as a player. Every game I've gotten into for Temple has fallen the hell apart. Or the one that looked like it was going to go all the way through, I dropped due to personality conflicts. I don't know if they actually beat it, but it was using a system that is totally not made for Mega Dungeon play. And they were using Lamentations. Lamentations is not made for dungeon crawls. It's designed for one shots.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the one shots. I realize that like Savage Sword is probably like that, but
Yes. They're not really designed for campaign play. They're episodic play. If you manage to survive episode 1, then you make a recurring appearance in episode 2, and on and on. If you think of it like a sitcom or a series of films,
like or Hercules, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and upend that philosophy. I'm writing an adventure for Savage Swords, and I think I think I've got it. But we'll
do you think it meshed well with a Mega Dungeon?
A Mega Dungeon, no.
Right.
6-room dungeons and lots of them, yes.
Episodic, because in my opinion, because of the nature of the magic system, you need a stable magic system in order to dungeon delve a Mega Dungeon. Because if your magic is unpredictable or always out randomly to fuck you over, you're doomed.
Yeah. The other thing is the lack of healing. Other than rest for a week and you're good. That kind of play does not mesh with the constant getting into scraps. You
can't push down to the delve. You can't delve super deep. Therefore, you can't penetrate deep enough to harm the Mega Dungeon ecology to do anything. Because the ambushes will be everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I really I get it, but I don't like the clerics who refuse to freaking stock up on the Cure Light Wounds. I know the way you play, you can't have multiple copies of the same.
But you can channel. But you can channel, right? So a cleric can channel any first level spell into a Cure Light Wounds, and the Cure Light Wounds scales with level.
Oh, okay.
All up like 3rd edition, right? So that's what Gillespie put into Dragon Slayer. So you can D8 plus level. So
without something like that, there's no point.
You also have a bind wound mechanic, which is a house rule I recommend for any basic or AD&D.
The 1 to 2 right after combat.
Yeah, they do a D3. They do a D3 in Dragon Slayer, but D2 was AD&D. Yeah, which no one realized was always in the rules. I get into that people all the time. I don't think these people actually read the DMG cover to cover.
You're right. I don't remember that in the DMG.
I'll try to find it.
Because without a lot of healing, you can't take a lot of damage. And, I know you talk about going in and out of the dungeon.
Yeah.
Most of my experience has been the party is like, once we're in, we're not leaving until it's done.
Then they will die in a Mega Dungeon. Then they will die. You can conquer sections of a dungeon, start fiefdoms, become a resident, and then expand. But that means, right there, another thing I love about Mega Dungeons, one thing I truly love about Mega Dungeons, Shadow, it separates the story gamers from the old school players.
What do you mean?
A story gamer can't stand being in a dungeon delve.
Oh, yeah, because they don't get. It's not all about them.
They have to be part of a team. They have to work together, and they can't make it about themselves. And the second they make it about themselves, that party's going to die.
The last mega dungeon I ran was Caliban. I know you're not real familiar with it, but it's once you walk in the doors slam shut, and the only way out is through the bottom. And it's 4 levels of the most insane, nasty shit you can imagine. There's a monster in Arduin called the Doom Guard. It's a full suit. It's an animated full suit of like the equivalent of plus 5 full plate with between 80 and 150 hit points each. And
Robot.
each one is armed with a magical two-handed sword in each hand that they can wield no problem.
Yeah.
I'm not done. They also have this great power that is every round they teleport to a new location on the battlefield.
They got blink. So
Basically.
they win initiative, you can't hit them. Yeah.
So
There's several people like that.
they're constantly just, and you'll encounter them in groups. So they're just like bipping around, hitting each different flank, and you've literally got to bash them apart.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome. Fucking love those things. One of my all-time favorite monsters in Arduin, and they start out at maybe 7 hit die all the way up to like 15 hit die each. 2 to 20 in number.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some dungeons that they have like overpowering stuff as you get towards the end for the big final battles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to have too many monstrous party wiping stuff, but evidently I'm going to have to double check a lot of these creatures for Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, I like the Spectator, man.
Their ass.
It's just a 4 hit die little critter.
5?
Baby beholder.
It's 5 something in Dragon Slayer. It got rid of one of the stupid ones, and it's Paralyzation Ray, Fear Ray, and the 2d8 plus 3 Pain Ray. Ups the magic resistance to 10%, and the first direct spell it can reflect it. And I did overlook the bite. Remember the bite was a D4 plus 1 for the original?
Yeah, I was telling you about that last time we were talking about it. I could have swore they had a bite, and that was.
I glanced over it, and I knew they had a crappy bite from back in the day, right? But it was buried in the text before the IRAs, and I went right down to the IRAs. I looked up for attacks up top, and it didn't have a bite listed under the stat block. It was in the text, and I was like, oh, wow, that's vicious.
Yeah, because after they've paralyzed or what have you, then they eat their victims.
Well, not necessarily. Remember, they're lawful neutral. They're bound like Modrons.
Or
they're not evil. I mean, and they can create food and water, so they can make their own food. They don't need.
Yeah, but everybody wants it.
It's a rare steak. I want me some adventure mignon. Yeah, Stonehill's a good dungeon. That's George, right?
You're throwing at me a whole bunch of modules or pre-made dungeons I've never even heard of until just recently.
Stonehill was probably the first mega dungeon after the OSR started being a thing. I think it was the first real mega dungeon after everything started for the retro clones. And it was amazing. It's the best thing Curtis has ever done. Best thing ever. And it's unrealistic. I mean, it's stacked on top of each other all the way down. But it's in quadrants, has themes. It's crazy. It gets crazy as it gets down. So it goes from standard hack and slash mega dungeon and puzzles to chaos pit. And then it's really crazy. I've never had a party get past the 5th level. There's like 13.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Some of that is scheduling. Online gaming falls apart, I think. A little easier.
I've been lucky with my Sunday game. January 1st will be 2 years. Mind you, some players have come and gone and left. Some permanently, some temporarily. Some temporarily because of other people being in the game. And
personality conflicts. I think the number one killer of group dynamics in a game online is personality conflicts, and that's
Yeah.
true with the table game too. People just get sick of each other.
Or sick of their
They
shit.
left me to die at my Sunday group. I played a table game, and I hadn't been playing a table game for years, and I got into one. My wizard moved up to debuff. I got this poison bolt. It was like a save versus poison or -4 to hit, nauseated. I'm like, all right, I'll get up there and help. I run up there, and the dwarf and the ranger fall back, leaving me up there alone, the wizard with the hill giant. I'm like, guys.
Why? Why?
Because they don't want to stand toe-to-toe with the hill giant, even though they had AC -6. So they left my AC 8 butt up there to die.
Dude, are they retarded? They come to the game with the helmet on?
No, they're just very self-focused. And they're munchkins. They'll be munchkins. Oh, we use range until we have to go toe-to-toe. He didn't want to get hit by a big stick. I'm like, just hold him together, and I'll debuff him, and you guys will have an easy time. We'll have free hill giant XP. Nope, they all fell back. And I'm like, you've left me here to die. So my next character is a bow character. I said, okay. No one wants to go toe-to-toe. I'll show you how to kite creatures in the dungeon. But I'm not getting anywhere near front. And I'm not making another wizard. It's so difficult to get a wizard to 3rd level in an OSR game. You know that. Especially when it's very obvious that the fighter, cleric, dwarf, and the ranger are definitely not going to put themselves between you and a giant. And the ranger gets bonuses to damage for his level.
That is the most cowardly shit I've ever heard of.
That's what I was calling us. You pussies. And we're all friends from back in the day, so I'm just giving them a hard time.
What happened to the days of, the fighters and the dwarves? You have to hold them back, from doing exactly.
That's a different player. The guy who wants to be the heroic guy charging forward, he was already dead. So from an earlier encounter, and we hadn't reintroduced his new character. He's on his 2nd or 3rd paladin.
Good for him.
He just keeps dying. He got so sick of it, he made an assassin. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but good for him for, not giving up after the first paladin.
No, he had the rolls for it, so.
So do you make up a lot of your own mega dungeons, or do you just go?
Not for several years. I've been just using pre-printed, and then I modify them as I go along. I put subplots and stuff in.
That's something I've noticed a lot. That's why I don't know the names of these mega dungeons, because I had a bad experience with someone having the module that I was running.
Oh yeah.
And I never wanted to run one again unless I, found one and didn't tell them they were in it.
Yeah, I change it all the time though.
But even then, I don't like the idea of having to do that because they might.
I'm not doing that because of people. I do that just because of how I am. I just everything we purchase, everything we do as a DM is a suggestion.
Yeah.
And I call it bubbifying. I bubbify everything I touch. Like Stonehill. That's my new Stonehill on the Borderlands. Instead of Keep on the Borderlands, it's Stonehill on the Borderlands. And I make it weird. I have fun making it weird. These other ones, I try to make them ominous and humorous at the same time. I want my guys to be as they know they're going to die.
Okay. I can appreciate all of that. Well, one of my questions was, here, let me get to it. Because I, like Sean always said, I'm a control freak, and I want to do everything my way from the ground up. So, I create my own mega dungeons. I'm gonna create one for my current group. And when you made your own, how'd you go about it?
I get a theme in my head, and then I showed you a picture of that architectural graph paper I'd use. It's 3 foot, 4 foot.
It's almost identical to what I'm using.
Then I just sat down and started drawing. Because I would make maps a buddy of my mix said I should just publish maps, which I thought was ridiculous. And then you got people like Dyson; they have a whole living, they have that little side hustle of making maps. I was like, what? But I would just make maps and I would link them all together, and I would find a theme in my head that I wanted to play with, and then I would go from the theme because I'm very theme oriented.
You see, I usually have a lot more in my head before I even take the pen to paper. You know, I know what it is. I know, like, it's the secret lair of, or the laboratory of, or the summoning pit of, or whatever. I've got
bullet points. I make a set of bullet points. I start making maps, and then I put the most minimal information, and then everything else is me riffing with players. And the more into it the players are, the more I can actually riff and have fun with it.
With this latest group, I literally make up 90% of what's happening right then and there.
Yeah.
The maps, dungeons. What I do for online games, let me show you real quick if I can find it. I think that's what this is. I use index cards, and I'll just make, a map with no.
Yeah.
And then I tape them together so I can expand them, and then, when the whole thing's done.
Yeah.
I can.
I like having my grids though, and right here, this right here. I do something similar. These are the index cards here. These are the restocks from the places they've cleared out. And then because the way Roll20 is, I go on the GM level and then I write what's in the room. So the in-depth description of the creature and groups is right here, but on the map on the GM level that they can't see, I have notations where stuff is and what's changed. And sometimes I'll just put dungeon dressing, which reminds me, change the description, and then I just look to the right or left at what creatures have moved in, and then I can put what's happened to that room since they were there last.
Okay. Usually
it's a pile of dung. My guys have become great dung inspectors. They're like...
Okay, I think I've heard it all, but... Do tell.
Well, if there's a group of minotaurs that moved into a tower and they're in this one room, where are they crapping? Minotaurs are like big cows. There should be big cow craps everywhere.
Okay. And they become experts at reading the shit leaves?
Yeah, for habitation. If it's living and breathing, it's got to take care of its stuff. Its food and stuff, blah, blah, blah. Sure. And it gives me a reason why there's mosquitoes and giant flies around, because they're attracted by the side effect of having big ugly horse people around or whatever.
So rot grubs, yay or nay?
I use rot grubs, but not as much as modules do.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you about this. I had this invasion that would strike fear into everybody. Okay, imagine a crossbow bolt, right? But the arrow, the tip of it is hinged kind of like so that when it pierces, it spreads open.
Yeah, like a dum-dum.
And inside the shaft of the bolt is one or more rot grubs.
Yeah, but how they stay alive. See, I do love the Sons of Caius, right? Or the Sons of Gax. They're called the Son of Gax in Dragon Slayer. The undead that's just full of rot grubs. And if you have a smart necromancer, and I've played a few crazy necromancers, putting those in your zombies makes them mobile. They're like a down-powered version of a Son of Caius, right? Or you have this. They have the skeletons and stuff. Stuff them full of yellow mold and stuff, and send them forward like little jihadis.
This way, when the rot grub arrow or bolt impacts, because it pierces and lets the little bugger out, that 1 to 4 rounds or whatever it is halved.
Oof! You just want to kill people then, man. Can't put the torch to it then. Ugh. But not every bolt is going to get meat, right? It really goes back to your review of how hit points work.
If it's doing damage, it's probably inserting the little buggers in there and
inserting. It's a 5e game.
And I'll be nice, like the first time I'll take out a NPC or a henchman or something.
Yeah, these guys can't keep the hirelings and henchmen alive. This last one, all the henchmen died. All of them. Crazy.
So do your other than the the obvious the plays the thing, do your mega dungeons serve like any other purposes? Do they have like uh,
There's always a story behind them.
mhm.
They were something before they became what they are. And a mega dungeon, in my opinion, can be pretty much anything. A mega dungeon can be a city. You can run an urban campaign as a mega dungeon mindset, but a ruined city, even better.
What I meant like is like uh, it's the current layer of like
There's
let's say
always there's always factions.
like a maybe a wizard who it's his current lair and you're trying to get to him or even better a vampire
It's
is
Undermountain. Vampires are usually a component of a mega dungeon, but not the ones behind the whole thing.
okay because
Um,
I've done that where it's been the vampire like Palace of the Vampire Queen at the very bottom. That's where the Vampire Queen is, and the party is there to kill her.
well,
That's
they could be in charge of a level or a section. The bigger it is, the more you can have multiples of these big guys in there and or driving force. I don't want to give away too much on some of these. Stonehills, there's a thing that makes Stonehill what it is. Highfell, it is a cult trying to do something, right? But there's all these ruins, so there's all kinds of factions, and there's the overarching big bads is the cult. Drone,
without giving too much away. What are some of the big bads that you'd have at the ultimate end? The boss battle, if you will.
which one? I'm running two. I'm running Barrel Maze and I'm running Highfell.
Well, it just very non-specific. I don't want to give anything away, but what are some things or choices you'd use as the big bad at the end?
Oh, previously I've used a Dracolich. I was inspired by Dragon Mountain, but hated the way the layout was. It was just overcomplicated for me. I liked the little phasing mountain. That was cool. Making people terrified of kobolds again was really fun. I didn't like the layout, so I made a 4-level version with just my paper, how I do, laid down 4 layers deep, and it was just a big Dracolich at the end. And he was bringing in adventurers into this death trap dungeon to expand his horde. And one of the rumors was there's a dead dragon down there whose horde is being looted, right? They can't get all the treasure out. So it was like Smog's horde down there. They get down there, they find out, yeah, there is a dead dragon, and he's behind everything.
Okay. My favorite is honestly either the vampire or the lich.
Yeah.
The vampire because they can come and go and oftentimes are you know they bump into the vampire without knowing it kind of thing in town. He's a prince or a duke or some such or one of his minions is someone they know. The lich, it's just all about mad scientists taken to the nth degree, and everything in the dungeon is just another one of his failed experiments or maybe
That's the whole
successful.
thing of Undermountain. Yeah, Undermountain's the whole thing about one super high level wizard who's crazier than shit. He wants to make it. It never explains. I mean, it's the amount of magical research that would be required for all the stuff at Undermountain, though, is mind-boggling.
Well, he did have I just read that one. He did have like
Yeah,
those guys who could have helped, and a couple of them are still alive, and they're in like 18th level. So at that point, you got if you've got a couple of 18th level apprentices, you can pretty much do anything, right?
Right.
I mean, they find a Volkswagen down there. That's no big deal. It's like,
and with Castle Greyhawk, it was a demigod. People forget that Zagig is the one who made the lower levels as he ascended to godhood, but he still did that as a deity. He was doing all kinds of great. So that stuff is constructed by a demigod. And it has a lot of cool stuff in it. A lot of stuff that's kind of out of period. And with a mega dungeon, you can put that lost tech in there, and you can have levels or things that are just out of place. If you have something that's infused with chaos, then you can get really weird. Then you can ignore your own maps if you want to.
That's one of the things that drew me to Arduin because in the early days, in the very earliest of White Box, there's all kinds of hints and allusions to you know technology,
Yeah,
ray guns and spaceships and all that crap, and Tharks from Barsoom
yeah. I've
and
had bad luck mixing that stuff though. Once the technology comes in, it usually unbalances your campaign.
uh, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Once they got a few laser guns in their hands, everything just goes south.
Well, that's why the current game I'm running, there's very little land to begin with. So, what are they going to do? Okay, you conquered this ocean. Okay, you own some water. So what? You go in a couple of islands. You're going to try and take the mainland. Good fucking luck. I don't care how many laser
I'm
guns.
really inspired by 50s B movies. So any chance I can do a Plan 9 from outer space, or they're in the turtleneck space outfit that shimmers that the wizard can use.
I have been watching a lot of videos of like 10, sci-fi movies of the '60s that you didn't know about.
Yeah, I had one. I had a cybernetic bear with laser eyes. Flat white. It was bad. It was a bad encounter. I was like, this can't be that bad. It's like, we hold back and use arrows. Use these laser eyes. I'm like, oh, I made him a simple to roll to hit, and I critted with laser eyes. I'm like, uh-oh. And then he mauls you.
I'll send you a picture of the cybernetic war machine that's in Caliban. They ran into that as like their second or third encounter. It's this treaded. It's kind of like the robot from Logan's Run at the end, except he's got like tank treads on the bottom, and he's literally got the glass bowl part of his head with a human brain in it.
Yeah, there's a wizard like that in, I think, Stonehill. He's a brain in a bottle, and he's a big robot wizard with rotary wands.
Oh, nice! This guy's
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I love it. I love stuff like that because they can't take that and use it against you. But if you start putting Game of World level items in your campaign, you're at a certain level, you're going to have to. So that was what made Expedition to the Burial Peaks, which did not count as a mega dungeon, in my opinion. But that gear in there,
really
so cool. It's not big enough.
That dungeon is it's not massive in the way of volume and size, but it is 4 levels of mostly entire graph paper with just room after room after room of.
Right, but it's not massive. You can get through that in a series of 2 to 3 sessions.
You think
when
so?
I think a dungeon, I'm like, oh yeah.
Really, that one took me like, I shit you not, in a game shop where I had the key to the door and I was playing after hours. It took us a month to clear that thing.
Really?
With a party of 6 teams.
We didn't sleep on the weekend, so it might just be me and my guys growing up because we were kind of lunatics.
We only went home to sleep during the summer.
They stayed over at my house. My grandmother's attic on the weekends when I was in high school was 8 people playing D&D for 3 days straight.
Don't you miss that?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I really like my sleep now.
Yeah. But I mean,
I've tried a couple times when like the wife's out of town. It's like, hey, we'll play D at 10:30. We're done. We're like, oh, we're all tired.
I hate these 2 and 3 hour online games, and that's it. I'm good. You want to play till midnight? Cool. I'll play till midnight.
I do a 2.5 hour, 3 hour session. A lot of my guys have to get up at 4 a.m. to go to work.
I've got a guy who's
got to be up at 4:30 a.m. to start getting ready for work. Getting them past 11 is cruel and just not doable.
One of my players is in Ireland when we play, so the fact that he even shows up is awesome, and he's hardly missed a game.
Irish guy. I'm happy to him. He dropped after I switched from OSC though.
It's I miss those long 8-hour games where you get a lot of shit done instead of the typical we meet at 4:30 my time, and we're done like 8:30. But an hour of that, is often just bullshit. How's it going? Talk about this.
That's why I skip a lot of the NPC stuff now. I don't do a lot of in town stuff because we do 8 to 10:30 once a week, and I got two different games that do that. And if the guys were up to it, I'd do it 2 nights a week. But like I said, some of these guys, I'm
Same here.
retired. Right? For all intents and purposes, I'm
You know.
retired. Not of my desire, but it's just how it turned out. But these guys are still working.
That's why I've decided, I got to open up a shop because I want to, game more,
Yeah.
and I want to,
Now that Sunday game I play in, we play 6 hours. We play from 3 till 9, 6 hours. It's a 6 hour session on Sundays.
That's decent. Four would be, nice. If it was, I mean,
Yeah.
see, I was spoiled. There was a huge part of my life where I got to play every single day, minimum of 4 hours a day. Weekends it was more like 8, sometimes 16, or just the entire weekend. Except for at some points people got to go to sleep, shower, etc. But we literally played every single day for like a decade. And I had a group of 6 to 8 people every day after work. That's what we did. No miniatures, just all theater of the mind.
We use pennies. For big fights, we had to use the pennies, man.
No, I didn't even really do that. It was really amazing, that because I started with no minis, went to minis, stopped using minis, and now I have more minis than I know what to do with, and I still don't use them.
I've always been a big proponent of using a lot of hirelings and henchmen
Me too.
and
Me too.
minions as a player.
Some of my
So I always had extras and
some of my players hate them,
beyond the party.
and a couple of my players hate when an NPC is in the group because they get equal shares. So when it's
Right.
time to pick magic items, they get a pick, and I'm like, yeah, they did
Right.
the work, you know. Uh, that's just the way it goes, You guys need to declare.
Yeah, my guys are like that. They'd rather try to get them all killed, and then they can't figure out why they can't recruit henchmen anymore because no one wants to follow you. It's foolhardy.
Yeah.
A hireling can be bossed around. A henchman is someone who wants to be your buddy. It's supposed to be an extension of you as a character. That's a whole different thing besides Mega Dungeons. We could go have a whole different show on henchman mentality and treating every hireling as a red shirt and how these people would be hated. Police player characters would be hated in every city and town they went through.
As they rightly so. I mean, if not actually brought up on charges.
Yeah.
At some point, I would
Years later, there's this young up-and-coming paladin. You don't know why he's got a beef with you. I mean, you killed his dad and laughed about it in town. He's like, I will put this to rights.
A court drama as a game session where it's like, well, you come into town and the entire militia is there waiting for you.
Yeah, I've had to execute player characters. What happens? My guy they throw you in an obulette. What? They throw you in an obulette and they lock it, and no one ever comes back to check on you. Ever. You die. Or you're executed. Why? You tried to kill the baronet. You tried to kill nobility. You raised arms against a noble and got caught. So yeah, they execute you as an example. They freak out. They don't understand there's the dungeon delving part usually means there's no repercussions for being a lunatic in the dungeon. But when you're in town, different beast.
Or if this is your third return to town and the henchmen that you left with are still in the dungeon, as corpses.
Yeah, didn't even bother bringing them out, but you're carrying their gear.
Yeah, the town's going to have words with you.
Yeah, we had to institute a were guild on some guys, and some guys dived into it, and they took care of the NPCs or the hirelings' families or whatever. And some of my guys are like, tough. We don't care.
Yeah,
They're
I
dead.
would kill them as soon as they got back to town. Just tell you, okay, I need to roll 120 sided dice. Hold on a minute.
Well, in a lot of dungeons, the town is absolutely a henchman is your buddy, but it's considered a retainer. OSC just calls them retainers instead of henchmen and hirelings, so they reclassify
Yeah,
it.
a henchman is
Um,
like someone who comes to serve you because they think you're badass and they want to follow you,
yeah,
but they expect to be treated like. To give you an example, Little John and all of the merry men were Robin Hood's henchmen.
but retainer can also be applied to your followers for name level for having like a fortress and stuff. And hirelings are just the dudes you pay to be there. They're paid to be there. Otherwise, they're ready to go. But a henchman, he's there for the same reasons you are, or they're following you for whatever reasons you want to, the DM or you want to put into the game. I had one that was followed in a dungeon because he was kind of sweet on the dude's female character for some reason. And now it varies. It's how you want to set up their that's part of their little backstory. Less than 3 sentences.
Yeah. So, do you have like a favorite aspect of the mega dungeon? Is there something like an experience or a thing you try to do when you run one? Like you try to always throw it in there, like that particular trap or treasure or trick or reoccurring.
Try to change it up. I try to change it up as much as possible. The only thing I want to play up every time is the dread. I want them to be
Okay, so
scared.
that would be the thing that you always try to instill is the fear.
Right, because Mega Dungeon should be the big scary place. It should be like the place we avoid as people, right? There's a house on the other street here. It just got bought and they remodeled it. It's called Seton House. The Seton Manor was haunted, right? I don't know why anybody wouldn't live in there. But it looks nice now, but it was actively avoided by everybody in the neighborhood. We have those things in our real world, right? Where just going to the old sanitarium because of the reputation, you're apprehensive.
We have a place like
You
that.
got
We
to
have
build
two
it.
places back where I lived in Orange County. One was the bomb shelter that nobody knew about. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
this was California, like 2 miles from the beach, but there's a bomb shelter, and it was badass.
Right.
And it was,
It was one of the bunkers for the shore artillery
I
because
guess, I mean, nobody even knew it was there.
there's
It had no signs, nothing. It had a padlock chain to keep the doors closed, but you could still squeeze in. You could open the doors about this far and squeeze in, and we did. And we knew that you can guarantee that there was some heinous activity that had gone on there after it had closed between
yeah.
the underwear that you would find and the spray paint and things like that, which we would go every once in a while and hang out. But there was another place that was even creepier. It was this house up on a hill by the oil rigs. It was just this lone house up on a hill, and at night the lights would come on, and we would go up there, but no one was ever home.
Everything on
No
timer.
furniture,
Yeah.
no furniture.
Timing. No
It was
furniture.
completely empty. Lights would come on every night at like 6 or whatever. Okay, and it looked from the outside, it looked perfectly normal. Inside, it even looked kind of normal. Occasionally,
Except no furniture.
occasionally there'd be graffiti on the inside, but then you'd come back a couple of days later to be gone. But the creepy thing,
Stash house.
I don't know, but the creepy thing,
That was probably a human trafficking stash house.
we didn't notice this at first, but one night we'd gone up there, and the lights are on, and we're goofing off, and we looked down on the ground, and what we thought was gravel was nothing but animal skeletons. Just,
That's
I
crazy.
mean, I kid you not,
Yeah.
a 50-foot circle in diameter, around the house. It was all bones of birds, rats, cats, dogs, and not like skeletons, but disassembled pieces, all randomly scattered like it was gravel.
Yeah, you can get that. You can buy filler that's actually
And
bone.
it was just nothing but bleached bone all around the house. It was just like, this is creepy. And when we figured out what we'd been walking on, we never went back.
Yeah, might have found Fauci in there doing
I never thought
experiments.
about it being what you said. Now that I think of,
Filler, yeah, because it's great for like roses and stuff.
for what?
Bone meal. Bone meal's great for roses
Oh
and
no,
things
no,
like
there
that.
was nothing growing there, nothing at all. Not even
Mm,
weeds, nothing. It was just pure white bones as far as you could, see.
that's
But
crazy.
no, what I meant about the house, what it was used for, that's
That sounds like a wretched or a red adventure hook right there. You just need to delve into your early childhood trauma and make a red scenario right
yeah,
there.
that might do.
Actually, it would fit well with that. The one I do for the kids, the lost
Oh
innocence
yeah, I
thing.
love that. I should have got that
Yeah,
one, but I can still get it because
I'm going to get it. My grandkids are not interested. They played a little Labrador, and I pitched all this other stuff. And they're like, nah,
yeah, when I was yeah, there are
yeah, they
owls
do.
out here, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't that. I actually ran a really fun. I want to say Erie, Indiana game because that was the only thing comparable at the time. In Palladium's Beyond the Supernatural, they have this thing where you play at the very back. It's only a couple of pages where you just make up nobodies, and we call them victim games, where you just roll up,
Yeah,
average people in weird circumstances games.
Survivor, Common Citizen, and Survivor for red right
And we
there.
ran that game for got to be like 3 to 6 months, but it was basically kids on bikes. The
Yeah,
kids are the only ones that know that there's vampires and werewolves and all this other crazy shit in the town that they live in. It's in the middle of nowhere.
that's the quintessential
I
'80s
know, right?
films. The best one. That's Monster Squad. That's Goonies. That's awesome. There's one called Monster. There's a new one that God played Mad Max. That's one blank. Monster. He's got a new one out from Angel Studios. It looks really
When
good. Monster Summer.
when Miguel and Sylvia had me judge the contest for their game jam last year, there was one that was exactly that, but it was actually an alien robot that had crash landed, kind of like Short Circuit, was it? With number 5 or
Yeah.
whatever. It was kind of
I had my idea that I didn't put to paper. I got notes on it, but it's an alien who discovers moonshine, and he tried to help a damaged bear, and he makes a cybernetic killing machine, and it's set in a state park. So you're set up. One of the things is you pick stuff for your party weekend, and those are your items to help you survive once the bear attack starts, right? And if you get lucky, you can find the moonshiner or you can find the alien. But the goal is to survive the night of the cybernetic killer grizzly. And I was going to put a mechanic where there's NPCs. And if you get an NPC, you want to keep him because the NPCs always get attacked first.
that way.
You want to create.
You can use we really should do an NPC thing because you can use the NPCs to show so many things that are about to happen and why the player characters would be better off just running instead of any other whatever's in your head.
Horror movies start with some nobody just being exploded into pieces. You're all covered in
Look
blood. What do
look
you
at the
do?
classic movie Jaws.
Yeah, I love
Fucking
Jaws.
first or scariest movie of all time. I would add, obviously Alien and Jaws always are at the top two scary movies, but I would throw Event Horizon in there as a solid number 3. That movie is just freaking nightmare.
Messing with Jalen.
But Jaws, I mean, it's encounter after encounter after encounter of why you should never go back into the water, right?
You were out of your element. You were out of your
I was a
element.
surfer before that movie. Surfing and boogie boarding and stuff like that as a kid, like pre 14. That movie came out. I did not go
Yeah.
back in the water. I still don't go back in the water. Just nope. That's where the sharks live. Yeah, but it's only this deep. I don't care.
Yeah.
All it takes is one slip, and Riptide pulls me out there, and I'm shark food.
Done. Get undertow in the river out here, especially around the coal barges. It's dangerous. All right, we got off topic
Yeah.
again.
Do you have like as a player or DM, do you have like a favorite experience in a mega dungeon?
I was looking at that. You skipped the favorite mega
Oh, did
dungeon.
I?
Um,
Okay, we'll go. We'll do
yeah,
your favorite. What's your
that's
favorite mega dungeon?
currently Highfell. Previously, it was Barrel Maze. They're both by Gillespie. He does a theme. Like I said, a lot of parallels there. He does theme and then makes a big dungeon about it. So Barrel Maze was the first one that did a non-linear dungeon where you can find the extra entrances into the dungeon, but there's no clear definition or defining value what levels you're in.
Okay.
Right? So if you find the secret door that takes you in, congratulations. You just went to the level 5 section of the dungeon at level 2. Perfect example, I had a buddy, he started scouting all of the mounds. His goal was to be very analytical, and he was going to map all the top and then pick the ones. But he found a big open spot. So he decided to descend into it, him and his hirelings and his henchmen, and he descended into a barrel harpies layer at first in the level 7 to 8 section of the dungeon. So the 3 sessions of carefully mapping and notating everything on top ended with the first time he went down a hole.
Oh.
He's good natured about it. He thought it was hilarious too. Highfell, where it's a drifting dungeon, it is a ruin. So it's a layer of mega dungeons in my opinion, right? First you got to do a series of adventures or NPC interactions to get the ability 300 feet off the ground. You get up there,
Okay.
it's a hex crawl. The hex crawl is a mega dungeon. It is an hour to get through each 300-foot hex. And then you're going to these towers, which you consider other sections of the mega dungeon, right? So you're getting hex crawl plus tower exploration. The tower exploration leads to the dungeons, which are all connected via teleportation pads. So the dungeons underneath are all connected in a big, giant, magical network. It's a layered dungeon. I think it's awesome. And that's my current favorite. That's the group that avoided the wipe with the spectators the other night. So they're on the verge of becoming 5th level characters, which I think's fun. I got 2 players who've never been that high level. They've never been 5th level.
Really?
One player's never been 4th. Wow. So it's his first 4th level character. He's new to the OSR. He came in during COVID, right? So he's a 5e. I don't know if he's a 5e refugee or he just, I should ask him. I think we've had that conversation. I forgot because I'm brain dead.
That's crazy. I mean, I get it because I play with some very new players in other people's games, but you know, you and me, we've been at it since
10 years old. 1980. I got Redbox a year after it came out.
I've been playing since 78 or 79.
You
And
play longer than I am, but you are a little older.
There's so many things I wish.
And availability, I think in the 70s, there was no place to get Dungeons and Dragons in my area. Thinking back, I got it at Walden Books, and Walden Books wasn't there in the 70s when I was a child. It came in 1980, 1981.
Yeah, no, I was lucky that I had a hobby store that still exists to this day called Brooker's Hobbies, pretty famous actually. But before that, I got a job at this place called the Unicorn's Lair. It was actually part of Bob's Comics. That was that comic book store that I got all excited about that was advertised in Dragon Magazine because I worked there. and I just started by just going to the hobby shop on the way home because I would work with my dad at his gun shop, and on the way home he'd let me stop in there for a couple of minutes and buy something or whatever, just look around on the way home after working a hard day with my dad, and then then I got a job working there because my dad's gun shop closed, um, and it's just there's so many things that I learned like way too early, you know,
Yeah.
because my first my first game, the DM, he was same age as me and didn't know what was going on and would never let me look at the books, just said no, you're not allowed to look. But it says player's handbook, oh, you're not allowed to look at it. I'm like,
Part of that helps. I can see how that helps with immersion.
he didn't know that though. He was the same age as me. He was like 12. He was just being a dick. So I went.
He was being.
So I went out and started mowing lawns. And in 2 weeks, I came back to the game with my own copy of the player's handbook. And he's like, oh, got all bent out of shape, and he got so bent out of shape that I made sure that in the next 2 weeks, I mowed even more lawns so I could afford the Dungeon Master's guy. And then when I showed him, he's like, fine, now you Dungeon Master. And he never Dungeon Mastered again.
Yeah.
And it was
I got stuck in a DM pretty early on. Sucks. I like playing, but you get that once you get in the forever DM seat, you're stuck.
Literally, yeah. It's only been through. Mind you, there have been a couple of games I played as a player, but I mean, I could count them on like 3 fingers. How many times I got to play in 45 plus years of dungeon mastering. It was only by meeting you guys online that I actually got to be a player again. And man,
yeah. First couple of years I got online when we were because it started when me and the wife did travel therapy for a while, right? So she was a travel therapist. I had all kinds of time, so I was a player for a while. But once we got back home, that ended.
You need it though, don't you? You really, as a DM, you need.
I think it re-sparks your play, your juices. It helps to get out from behind the screen to remember what it's like to be a player to make you a better DM. If you're DMing other DMs, it can be kind of aggravating because everybody's an expert and everybody who's a DM is a control freak on ones to different degrees. So it can be difficult DMing a bunch of other DMs.
Yeah, but you know what? It is and it isn't. I've noticed that, I'm not going to mention any names, but some people are amazingly forgiving at what I would call incredibly awful games. They're like just happy to not be dungeon mastering, that they'll put up with some shit. Just like awful games I've been in. And they're just like, all the weight is off their shoulders. And of course they just, they either torpedo the game, which is dumb, or they just do such crazy shit and they know they're going to get away with it, because that's another thing.
I let loose. I played the Chaotic Neutral Wizard. I was like, okay, there's 2 Chaotic Neutral Barbarians. I'm playing a Chaotic Neutral Wizard. I'm going to have fun with this. They were getting upset that I was burning all the captured spellbooks as an offering to Zool. I'll be like, I throw it. The other PC died. His wizard died. Okay, I flip through the spellbook. There's nothing in there you don't have. I throw it on the fire and do a dance. I offer it up.
When you got to play, did you notice, which something just irritated the shit out of me? I had to make a series on it. Dungeon Masters just bending over backwards to not kill players.
Yeah, I hate that. Now I'm lucky. Everybody I know is bloodthirsty as hell. Joe is the game I play on Sunday. He's very good to misinterpret the abilities of the party, right? But I also think he scales them. He has a plan, and he's very linear thinking. So he's assuming you're going to do A, B, C, D, and get to E, forgetting that these people he plays with are going to go A, B, G. That's
Yeah.
their nature. And he doesn't adjust. Doesn't adjust on the fly very quickly. But I mean, he's a good DM. He's solid.
You know what I mean,
Um,
pal? Not kill the players, kill the characters. Sometimes you want to do both, but yeah, the
yeah, I'm apathetic. I will fudge a little bit, tiny bit. It's usually just giving hints. But if the dice are rolled open on the table and you're dead, screw you, you're dead. Sorry,
yeah,
much.
that's everybody knows if they're in my games, there's probably not going to be any resurrect. I don't care what level you are, you're probably never going to get it. But I am what
And I always factor in what the ethos of the deity is. There's no way in the world that a lawful good deity is going to allow a chaotic neutral scumbag to be raised.
not only that, but the eject the players. There was a great movie called The Princess Bride, and they had the perfect literary solution to the Man in Black being dead. He's just mostly dead.
Mostly.
There's a great spell in the Unearthed Arcana called Death's Door.
Yeah, I'm making that for Dragon Slayer. It's not in there. And all this to do is get within one turn, get you another save versus death. Because at 0, you're unconscious up in D6 rounds in Dragon Slayer. You're -1 to -10, you get a save. You get your unmodified save versus death, modified by racial bonuses. And you can be back up in D6 rounds. I made it -1 to -con. The anemic and weak should die quicker than healthy people.
Yep.
This is how it is.
Because like with AD&D, you've got either -10 or -con, and with the Death's Door, it allows you to go like -30 or something. And I'm like, okay, if you memorize that freaking spell, and good for you for doing it, then awesome. Because then I don't have to, go make up a new character or be tempted to find some way to bring them back, which I don't want to do. I'd rather them not really be dead, just really, really fucked up and incapacitated for a month or two while they
Use a main chart. People will love it at first and then go to hate it, but then they retire characters after they've been maimed so many times. Like, I can't do this no more with half movement and having to check my con after a time I go up a pair of stairs. But yeah, I dig it. I like the save versus. I thought the save versus death mechanic would be 2-player centric, and it's not been. It's been 50-50.
So I was going to ask you. I'm going to ask you now. Favorite experience in a mega dungeon as a player, or do you have one?
There's been not a favorite. I'm very forgetful.
Okay.
So when I reminisce on a campaign, I'll remember the highlights that were hilarious or cool. The latest one that comes to mind is the Highfell one. When they saw that second spectator, the party started running in different directions. And it became a let's run. And then Leth plays in my game, was made sure he had pocket sand. And I normally laugh that kind of silly shit off. But he ran up in front of a beholder kin. He ran up front and said, I throw the sand up. And I'm like, on most things that's going to be laughable, but the damn thing's nothing but eyeballs. I get save versus wands, nat 1. I rolled D4 rounds. Every eye has sand in it except for one, and it's panicking because we know how irritating it is to have sand in your eye, right? But what if I have a 3-foot wide eyeball? That'd be agony. So it's like, so it starts to fly up, and they all just run. They run away.
Awesome.
And they're yelling at each other. He's screaming at the party in the dungeon as they're fleeing. We can't go up that way. We can't go up that way. And there's only one up that way into the dungeon. So he's screaming where they're going to the beholder, to the spectator. Because they had scryed and knew there's a whole group of these cultists outside waiting to ambush.
I had an experience in OGGM's game a couple of weeks ago. I was running this character who was a kid, and he got some money, so he bought like a crap ton of candy, right? And then I got attacked. I think it was by a treasure chest mimic. And so what did I do? I threw all my sour candy into its mouth, and the GM allowed me to escape what would
Yeah.
have otherwise been a horrific death. Instead, I got eaten by lions either that later that night or the next game, which was aggravating. But my favorite
It's fun.
experience or memory, I still remember this to this day so clearly. We were at the unicorn's lair. We had this big ping pong table covered with a dry erase, homemade thing for every table in the shop had these. And I was running this game, and there was this kid named Carter, a great kid. He was running a dwarf, and they were down in this giant freaking dungeon that I've been running for every day for weeks. And he'd gotten his character. He was like a fighter thief, 7, 8 levels, something like that. Really cool dwarven character. And somehow a pit fiend showed up, and they of course all ran from the thing. And because it was a mega dungeon, and when I do mega dungeons, I make big giant freaking doors and
Yeah.
wide ass hallways, and just
Those are
just do it.
fun.
Because I can do whatever I want. It's not, it doesn't cost anything, right? Same thing I say with magic items. Just hand them out. They're free. They don't cost anything. But they closed these giant double doors, and these double doors were like 20, 30 feet tall. I told them, right? And they'd closed them, and the pit fiend's like bam, 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 trying to knock the doors in. Well, Carter, because he's a dwarf, can't run as fast as everybody else, and was spiking the doors shut at the bottom, uh, to keep the pit fiend from being able to open the doors. Well, when the pit fiend opened the doors, he didn't open the doors. He knocked the doors out of their hinges.
Yeah.
Where are the doors going to go?
Yeah.
And poor little Carter is running and running and running, trying to get out from under these giant freaking like 2 foot thick doors, 25, 30 feet tall, splat.
The door thing reminds me earlier in the Highfield game that one of the towers had thick bronze door and it required strength checks to open it up. And the strength checks, they made sure to close the door, and then they got into an encounter they wanted to flee from. But the guys who got to the door were not strong enough to open the door because the guy in plate mail was the only guy strong enough to open the doors, and he was lagging behind them. And they outran him but couldn't exit the building because the doors were too heavy. They were made to be opened by automatons or golems back in the day, so that was funny. My guys have also learned to embrace Hole Portal and Wizard Lock for that very reason. I started doing Wizard Lock in a game, and it was not very pleasant because we got into the one way into the dungeon. I turned around, Wizard Lock the door. Can't get out, guys, unless I'm alive.
Hey, real quick, Cal, what's the thumbs down for? What did I say? What did he say? Why'd you give us the thumbs down?
It's probably his character got smashed.
No, he wasn't Carter. Carter was the name of the kid. I don't remember
Oh.
what the dwarf was, but it was just the way he took it. My other favorite experience wasn't really a mega dungeon, but I was running this dungeon I call Milford's Castle. It's the ruins of a keep, and it was like a fourth level adventure. There was a troll in it, but the troll had a ring of fire resistance. And there's a bunch of different things in the dungeon or the ruins of this castle, and the party was just being really dumb. And I'd run this. It was one of the few adventures I've run more than once, and every time everybody just died, everybody. And these two kids that I actually went to school with happened to be in that game, and both their characters died. And one of them, his name was Randy. After everybody's leaving, he said, he could tell I was kind of bummed because they were all bummed. They all died. And I'm like, you guys just made dumb mistakes left and right. And he was the first kid who ever showed me the afterword in the Dungeon Master's Guide. And so, like, dude, you did good. Even though everybody died, you ran a great game, and read this. This will cheer you up. And I did from that moment on.
Yeah.
That's my number one rule. Just gonna rulings over rules every time. And
Yeah, that's fun. I like the rule of the book that customizes it to your table. I talk about that all the time in my videos. I got 3 different games I'm in. The rule set is the same rule set. It's applied differently in all 3 games.
really,
Absolutely. I'm doing it on purpose on a few of my rulings on crits and a few other things. Yeah. Just to see which one works out better in actual gameplay. Because the flat interpretation for cleave is you get X amount of bonus attacks. Not I have to kill something and then get an extra attack up to this many times. It's no. It says X extra attacks when you cleave.
So what did you rule when you asked me about that the other day?
Oh, the eye stalk is not actually slaying the creature. It's an extension of creature. Maiming is not slaying. Therefore, knocking one eye stalk off does not allow you to cleave into the second one. Otherwise, a high-level fighter will absolutely laugh at a beholder or a hydra. Hydra heads only have 10 hit points each. So if I'm an 8th level fighter and I step up and I kill one head, and if I rule that a head lets me cleave, then I get 5 attacks. And there's 6 other heads. I kill 5 heads. 1 round. It's lame. I toyed with the idea of modifying the creatures on the fly and telling players up. Its necks are long and sinuous. It can treat all the Hydra heads as reach. It doesn't say that under the Hydra description, but then now you have to take 9 attacks of opportunity to get in to attack the heads up close, making it a much meaner monster.
Yikes. Where'd you go, Cal? I also put the Spider Queen together. She was a lot of fun. The Grell or whatever the hell that was.
Those are
this
fun.
Is the model.
They're my favorite monsters. I don't like how they made them like aliens and smart though. I like them being just dungeon weird.
And then here's the Spider Queen he's talking about. Can't really tell because it's just black.
Black on black.
But it's pretty ugly. But I'm not painting any further than that till September because Mini War Mutt's miniature painting challenge doesn't start till September, and I'm going to see what I can do, how many minis I can finish in September from my latest Kickstarter I got in the mail. Because I've got all kinds of stuff I'd love to start painting, but it's like, fuck it, I'll just assemble it, primer it, and then do the painting.
Last thing I painted was a Lance of Davian mechs. I haven't touched paint since.
Yeah, other than the spray that I just did, I haven't painted anything since April. And normally I'm painting all the damn time.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting me some more mechs to paint, but I don't know when we're going to be playing Battletech again, and we're helping with her mom, and we're helping with everything we do with my granddaughter, so it's just that stuff can wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to my next mega dungeon. I've got a couple ideas. I'm actually thinking of doing the opposite. You know how most dungeons are dungeon then natural cavern. I'm thinking of starting with natural cavern to get to the man or monster huge.
That's Social Camp, man. That's the Forgotten Cavern of Social Camp right there. I think that would be neat because then you're embracing an underworld concept. You go into these caverns. I saw a guy do the Lost Caverns from the Keeping the Borderlands over there. I've seen them do that where they went down to carved areas underneath it.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing that, or maybe a sunken city, literally underwater. I know
water,
but
just make do that with any map. You can do that with any map you got and just say it's submerged or partially submerged.
I would draw it differently. Taking from like when I was a kid, uh, and the only superhero cartoons on TV were the Super Friends. I would go and
Right?
lose my shit when they would actually have one of those Aquaman cartoons, where it was just Aquaman and Black Manta and the city of Atlantis underwater. I don't know why. I don't know why. I've got a couple of Aquaman up there because he was one of my first favorite superheroes. I don't know why, but
Uh,
and I've
that's weird.
always loved that whole, sunken city of Atlantis, still doing shit. Uh,
Mhm. I got an idea for one, and the main entrance to the mega dungeon is just a big hall, and I was gonna make it a multi-level hall, and then off the main hall is where you go to other places, and each of those factions are on those ledges, so you have to run a gauntlet when you go. You either skulk in there and choose which faction you're going to mess with, because if you stay outside and too much, you can get a wandering monster from any of and all the factions who will just shoot at you from up top, and maybe make it like an old layer of a dragon or
I had
whatever, some
something
big monster.
similar. I called it troll halls. It was basically like a super highway through a mountain. It was just a long ass tunnel,
Yeah,
but sometimes up and down and through natural
yeah.
crevasses.
I'll say like a big old temple, and it had all these extra sides off of it for some reason.
And the party they just needed to go from point A to point B, kind of like the Mines of Moria. I actually ran it for Jackie, but every once in a while there'd be like rest stops, or there'd be a bridge over a chasm, or little side places that you could just because you're driving your caravan through this tunnel to get to the other side of the
Yeah.
mountains, but as it got to be disused and things moved in, etc., or things creeped up from the crevasses, there would be different encounters and monsters, and I was thinking of doing something like that, but with uh, more things coming up from deep, dark.
The water thing got me thinking, do that big hall and has these stairs going into it, and then it'll be waist high. And then you have two levels you got to work your way at waist high water to get to, and those side chambers are all waist high water. The steps that go down the middle actually go down where it's like
Uh-huh.
up here and have open pits. And then up top, so have completely submerged sections of the dungeon. The main level is partially submerged. You're waist deep in water the entire time. Then you could use some different creatures that slither under the water you wouldn't be able to see. Giant leeches, anything with tentacles is fun.
Unless you're playing a girl or are a girl.
Yeah. Or if you're going across the water, man, and you're waist deep, no running, and the humanoids come up top, they're just ping, 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 ping. You're a whole party that didn't invest in any missile weapons. You run into gauntlets. It's 80 feet back to the exit,
Or
or
you
it's 20 feet in the
or
dark
or,
hallway.
or how do you handle this? The party is, like you said, right, in water, and up on one of the balconies is a shaman who just so happens to have a wand of lightning bolts.
It's area effect spell. If you do the rules in AD&D, it creates a 10-foot globe. Remember, it's either a 10-foot or a 20-foot globe. Where you start it, it doesn't actually go anywhere. It just goes. It creates a fireball effect. Not as big as a fireball though. So you use your range for lightning bolt, but it doesn't make a bolt. It goes, makes a big area effect hit. So it'd be a 20-foot radius.
So
Zap.
so the guy who's firing it could fire it at one guy, but actually hit everybody around him.
Mm-hmm. But you can do that with lightning bolt anyway, because it's got a range where you start the arc. Always, you could start at 50. It doesn't come from you. It doesn't have to come from the caster. You can make the arc be perpendicular to you, up to 240 feet away. I think. Depending, I can double check because I'm thinking on my levels of the last time I played an AD&D wizard, probably.
Because I have this encounter that I throw every once in a while at people. That they go into a cave. There's water. It's up to their knees, their waist, whatever, and they start to smell ozone. And then they come in. There's the big old pile of treasure in the center of the cave, and the treasure starts moving, and out pops the blue dragon
Yeah.
head,
That the
and then it does its lightning thing, and it's all over.
start drawing that out. I gotta start drawing that out now. That big giant hall with all the rope work. Yeah. Or a mega dungeon of small rooms, 5 foot wide hallways. It really messes with the party when they can't make their thing. They can't see through their whole party.
That's a pretty fucked up idea, actually, because whoever's in
Yeah.
the front, you know, and you can't swap positions easily. You can, but not easily.
You're taking a attack of opportunity, and you got to time it. You got to run through them. Yeah, it would be crowded. Yeah, it'd be crowded. And if you're firing through your party members, consecutive minuses, depending how far you are, and if you roll too low, you shoot people in the back. And then make them tight, 5 foot wide, but make them real tall. Real tall quarters. So it's a 5 foot wide quarter, but it's a 15-foot ceiling.
I would actually maybe even do like 20 to 25 and throw at them the Peter Jackson goblins and orcs.
Yeah, or Urds. You have a bunch of Urds throwing rocks at you, flying around.
Or Sioux monsters or catch or something like that can climb real easy. Or just God forbid,
Yeah.
hordes of giant spiders.
Yeah, that'd be neat. 5 foot wide, 20 foot tall, waist deep water. The top is covered in webs.
Oh God.
The pits are open. They've been triggered years ago, but they're full of water and you can't see them.
and then just for fun, after they've killed a dozen or so giant spiders, they get to a stairway that at last they're up out of the water for a little bit, and then they hear the squeaking.
The squeaky.
Remember in
Make the stairs.
which Indiana Jones movie with the rats, just the wall of rats.
Yeah. Wall rats. Or just make the stairs a mimic.
The older I get, the less I like those things.
I don't know. The older the mimic, the more it blends in. The younger the mimic, the more it stands out. A young mimic with low hit die should always be immediately. It should always be like the pristine, perfectly preserved, shiny box, and everything in the room's covered in dust and cobwebs, except that. But I made them like bookshelves and stuff. And they're just scavengers. I had one was just a scavenger. It waited till it got killed by something else, and then it would go eat them. And the rest of the time, it would just sit there on the wall watching.
Yeah, those, and I should use more often the cloakers and the lurkers.
Lurkers are the enveloper, the one on the floor. Those are vicious. If you don't have a small weapon, you're kind of hosed.
Same
in
thing
hand.
as the cloaker, right?
I know, but the ones on the floor are bigger because they're 20 foot, 30 foot square. You can get the whole party at one time with the
I never
floor.
thought about that. I usually just gets one person or another.
No, it gets parties. That's what makes them so mean.
So what are your thoughts on piercers?
They're one of the lamest ones, but they can do some massive
I
damage,
fucking
dude.
love them. If you see stalactites, just put your shield up. Just
I like them. They make sense as an ambush predator. Most players don't look up. My guys are looking up now, so they're like, do they move? You shine a light on it, give them a 1 in 6 or whatever chance to detect to see the bottom of it. But yeah, they're ambush predators. But when they drop, it takes them forever to get back up.
oh yeah,
But
I use them as like the equivalent of like a trap. It's just a part of the game of attrition. If you don't
Yeah.
notice them and they hit you, you're gonna lose some hit points, and then you kill them easy because if the ones that miss or even the ones that hit, they can't do anything. They're like a turtle, upside down on its back. They can't do shit.
They move 10. They can move 10. They move 10 feet, so they slowly make their ways up to the walls. I like using them in a symbiotic relationship. When they drop and kill stuff, they can't eat it all. There's usually other stuff that feeds on it. The meanest combination is ropers and piercers. Because you're running, you keep your eye up there, you're paying attention to the piercers, they start dropping, and people start trying to finish them off, and then the ropers just go, weakness.
I like ropers and sturges.
Sturges, my guys hate sturges now. They're one of my favorite.
They're just so gross.
Scavengers.
You know, because when you do kill them, it's just your blood you're spilling.
It's a bug. You're smashing a big old bug. Yeah. I use a ghoul sturge inspired by Lakofka occasionally. So they got these ghoul sturges. Yeah, that's from Secret of Bone Hill. A ghoul sturge. It's a sturge, but it's a ghoul. So if it heads on you, say you'll be paralyzed.
Oh. But are they
lethal? They're undead. They're undead sturges.
See, I tend to use Vargulis because those are literally, in my experience, one of the most terrifying monsters to players that you can think of.
3 attacks, then you can be paralyzed. Yeah.
No,
Ghouls?
Vargulis.
Varguli. Okay, you permanent hit point loss.
It's only 1 to 4, but I roll 2d10 or 2d20 number appearing, and
yeah,
you're not getting those points back, and they literally castrate the party because your magic.
We're not very high hit die though. Not very high hit die, so you gotta be able to hit.
You only need one of them to hit each player for 1 to 4. Before, and you tell them that they make a specific noise, and then when the encounter's over and they've killed them, you ever tell them it kind of sounds like a Varguli, and watch them pack their bags.
Same way with Clay Golem. Clay Golem damage can't be healed except by spells cast by a 14th level cleric.
Okay, that's pretty. I didn't notice that. That's pretty fucked up. Yeah, that's really fucked up. It's not as bad as the Varguli because you need a wish.
Yeah, the potions of healing don't work. If the cleric in your party is not a patriarch or a matriarch, they can't heal you. Yeah, read up Clay Golem, dude. It's one of the meanest golems in there. And they go berserk. So they're kind of hasted. I don't think that haste. I think it's the other one that hastes up. They might go get double attacks when they go berserk. I'm not sure.
I told you this.
Yeah,
mind you, I almost never use clay golems for some reason. Because over the years I've come across so many other more interesting golems.
Right. But depends on the nature of your dungeon too. I mean, it does seem out of place in Lost Caverns of Sochicant. It's just in a cave, not attached to anything. It's kind of weird.
That was a good dungeon though.
And it's the only one that's going to be made by
that
clerics.
Was a really one of the better dungeons, I think, with the additional artwork. That was huge back then, and just the overall everything. Yeah. Mind you, it was chock full of new monsters because they were all from the Fiend Folio. A
lot of them made their way into the Monster Manual too. Like
okay, maybe
that was the first appearance of the.
I wasn't sure if it was Fiend Folio or Monster Manual 2, but yeah, you're right. It was Monster Manual 2. The Bodak, and just a whole bunch of things that, at that time, nobody knew what the hell they were. And it was just like, and the vampire at the end, and spoiler. But yeah, it was a good one. Not a mega dungeon, but I don't think TSR.
I think that was amazing. We had the Dow's Lanthorn that ended up in the hands of a monk in our party, and we found a way to do anti-magic with it. So he would put the anti-magic, spin it, and just charge in, and a monk with an artifact level anti-magic shell. He just destroyed stuff. And the DM didn't use weapon versus armor, so there was no -8 to hit plate man. But what it would do is they would do it and run up on wizards. So anytime we saw a wizard, like a big bad wizard or a lich, he would just go and just move his 65 feet and just start wailing on them. That's it.
65 feet. Crazy.
Actually, this AD&D is more like 250 feet. Remember, 12 was 120 feet around, and blah blah blah. So yeah, it would just destroy people. It's ridiculous. Redonk.
That is pretty crazy. That was probably the last module I ever bought when I'm still using.
All right. I owned every TSR one up till not published 1989, and then kept them and only bought modules rarely after that, and then I had to get rid of them to pay some electric bills. Sold them all one
really?
swap. $150 for every TSR adventure ever printed until 1989. Yeah, I needed to keep the electric on. So.
Yeah. I don't even think you get 10 for that price nowadays.
My first wife was hell on a checkbook or any kind of budget. She destroyed it. It was like, oh yeah, they're turning the electric off today. Like, I gave you the money to pay for it. What happened?
Yikes! That's not.
Yeah, no conversation. Just fix it. Okay, I'll fix it.
Well, glad you're out of that. And now like I know you're more of a digital guy anyways. So you still have them, right?
Well, I got everything now. Everything again. I deleted all the. My buddy, I got a friend. He's a digital hoarder. So anything PDF and yeah, I only got a couple 8 terabytes of PDFs over here on my desk.
That's crazy.
I can double check. It may not be that much.
Yeah, I could do that, but I like a bunch of my friends have sent me some really good PDFs, but 9 times out of 10, it's a very rare one that I'll actually even open up.
Oh.
A friend of mine, John Longshore, I think is his name. I haven't.
43 gigs. It's 43 gigs of PDFs.
He sent me like, I want to say like 20 of the new Mongoose Traveler PDFs over a course of a couple of years. I don't think I cracked any of them. Not even opened them.
Yeah, I started deleting stuff too. I deleted all the 3E, 4E stuff. Got rid of it. Didn't like it, so I got rid of it. I'm not ever going to use it. It's not. He says it's good reference material. I'm like, no, it's not. It's trash. It's 5-room dungeons. It's systems that I don't like. It's artwork. It's written by degenerates I don't want anything to do with it. So delete. Make room for some film. So
yeah, I still have, probably about 100 PDFs that I keep just for emergencies, for different reasons. But I just usually, my whatever electronic device, it's more of a glorified radio that I have on when I'm reading,
right.
Because I can listen to a video and read a book at the same time, and
I gotta be immersed in the book. I can't have other stuff on. I either have classical on or just synthwave, but if there's another plot in the room while I'm trying to read,
really
done.
Yeah, I kind of had to develop the ability to do both because otherwise I would never get anything done. I would just sit and scroll and watch stupid shit when I should be reading. And now, I do try to, whatever it is I am listening to, it is lighter fare. It won't be politics or news or anything like that. It'll just be, some sort of,
Paganini or Vivaldi. The redneck listen to Paganini.
But I have been trying to, listen to more music, so it's even better. But I've listened to like everything that I like 1,000 times, and it's getting harder and harder to, listen to the stuff that I grew up listening to. I haven't listened to like Led Zeppelin in 30 years.
I get moods, and my main go-to is honky tonk and horror punk. Right. or post-punk. That's what I listen to the most. But when I'm doing certain like writing or reading, classical. But I get in these moods and I'll go back 70s or 60s rock, and I like surf rock, horror surf. It's pretty cool. I like that stuff.
Well, I used to listen to a lot of the, not the Venture Brothers, but just the good old fashioned Ventures when I was writing. But it you really have to pick the right stuff, because if you're like listening to the Ventures, it's pretty hard to write anything awful. You know what I mean? Like scary or dark and depressing, because their music is just, some of that.
You gotta listen to some cello, dark cello music. There's all kinds of cool stuff out there. Mood music, Asthma. YouTube is always on my house because I use it for background music a lot. So the Asthma stuff, ponds, running water, thunderstorms, or
yeah, my son he gave me a hard time at first when I first discovered the whole ASMR thing, but now it's for going to bed. It's rain. It's just we never get any here. He doesn't understand. I grew up in Orange County, which is way different than the high desert. We get like rain 3 days a year up here. So
yeah. I miss tin roofs. We used to have a tin roof on our porch when I was a kid, and the thunderstorms in a tin roof, I can't stay awake. Once that happens, I'm just going to pass out. And it's the deepest sleep I can get, next to sleeping next to a waterfall or having that water sound. But thunderstorms and a tin roof,
and
out.
When I think about it, the amount of paper and the horrific damage that could occur if I were to have a leak in the wrong part of where I live because of rain, it is like pure nightmare fuel. But I'd literally rather everything go up in flames than be ruined by water, if that makes any sense.
Because you can see it, but it's not usable.
Well,
whereas ash, it's transformed. Yeah, I don't exactly.
I have a copy of the.
About people.
I have this copy of the John Carter Warlord of Mars Marvel comic book omnibus. It's got all the John Carter comic books in black and white. It was the first omnibus I ever bought, and I left it in the bathroom when Jackie was like 2 or 3 years old, before he was even in kindergarten. And he went into the bathroom and turned the sink on to wash his hands, and for whatever reason, that sink just filled up and just ruined that book. And I was just like, so pissed off, because no one turned off the water, no one heard the water running for like a half hour, and it ruined the book. And I still kept that book just as a reminder. I bought another copy, but I kept it even after I dried it and pressed it, and it's still like twice as thick as it used to be because of all the warping of the pages. And I could press it, I suppose. I think I even tried to, but it'll never be the freaking same again. Hey, what's up, Off Grid?
We're off topic again.
I think we hit all the bullet points.
Okay.
We can come back and do this again next week or in a couple of weeks if you want to talk more.
Sure.
Because I am going to be working on. I'm going to finish this month talking about Mega Dungeons in any way I can, because I need some inspiration and some ideas, because
I got several ideas. I got 2 to throw at you. That big hall with all the things off of it, water without water. Another one I call the Dungeon of Stairs. And it was just going to be lots of small rooms, kind of like Tonisburg, connected by stairs that are on the same level, but they're not connected. So you can go, some levels you go down past, and you don't get back in by going back up. So make it kind of a maze.
So basically,
spiral.
Escher's worst nightmare.
If I could draw a dungeon to reflect Escher's maze, I would. But people can't think in 3 dimensionals like that. Imagine describing the stairs that go up, and then the stairs are on the wall. And as your party goes up, they are now inverted, walking into a room that's inverted, where you can see the other room down below. How would you map that? How would you map that, and how would you play it out if you have creatures in the other room where you're upside down? Where does the gravity plane change? You know, you don't go on the steps. You step out of the gravity plane and
That sounds awesome off grid. So now every evening I turn on one or more long videos of just rain and sleep like a baby.
I do it a lot. Yeah, I do it a lot. I leave the TV on the living room and
And then the wife will be like, she'll come in, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. What the hell are you listening to? I have no idea. You woke me up. Yeah.
thunderstorm.
One of the
I used to listen to music when I went to sleep, but my wife doesn't like that, so we don't do it anymore.
One of the channels I listen to do that is someone camping. They'll set up their camp and then just
fire.
And
in winter, during the holiday season, we leave the holiday fireplaces on. I love it. I got like an 80-inch TV. It's just a big fireplace in the living room. It stays that way. Sometimes with or without the holiday music.
We do that in one room. The closer it gets to the holidays, and sometimes when we do our holiday videos, like our Christmas tradition videos and our awards show video that we do every year, the TV in that room will have one of those Christmas fireplace things going, and you can sometimes see it in the video.
Yeah.
But we have to turn the music down because we can't. Whatever, YouTube, their rules and dumb.
I know, right?
You
got to use the music, or you got to get the Whiteback Audio is royalty free, and they have all kinds of music. But check out Whiteback Audio. I like it, and for background music. But I've never gotten a copyright strike for the classical I play in the background when I do videos, or the synthwave. Because I'm going specifically after people who have like 12 fans, It's me and them, and 12 other people really into this retro wave of the dank mall edition.
I didn't get a strike, but I got a warning because I did a video on the James Bond role playing game. So I thought I would open with 30 seconds of, not even 30 seconds, it was like 27 or 28 seconds of the James Bond theme song. And I got a notice saying that, and they wouldn't say what country, but one country would not allow this video to be played.
Yeah. I had one strike a long time ago, but I think it was a scam. I think it might have been a scam trying to scam me. But James got one the other day for Dune, where he's doing the comparisons. Yeah. I mean, but it should fall under fair use. We're comparing A, B, C, each of the 3 films. But yeah. Anytime you got to deal with that stuff, I just throw my hands up. They've got to the point with IP and stuff that ANCAP future that some people want, I think is the worst kind of hell because of things like the IP thing, where you can't talk about anything because it's owned by the X corporation and everything's a damn microtransaction. It makes me sick.
Yeah, well, look on the bright side. You and I probably won't live to see it.
I don't want it for my grandkids or my kids.
Well, to be honest, depending on how old they are, they may be responsible for it or partially, for.
I don't know. Convenience creates change. I think that's what's going to destroy everything is convenience will destroy anybody's ability to be free.
Yep.
They'll choose it. They'll choose slavery. Consumerism is the worst form of slavery there is.
I don't know. I'd rather be, a shopaholic than tied up and chained up in some.
It's the nature of debt slavery, though, right?
Yeah, like I said,
people are spinning themselves into a corner where they're controlled.
I'd still rather that than being chained up in somebody's basement.
Fair, but it's easier to trick people to do it.
I don't know. I was talking to Janet because one of my side interests is the number of people that disappear every year. You probably see how often I send those missing person alerts on Facebook.
Oh, that's all the time on Facebook. I noticed. Yeah, I tell you that they end up in the Happy Meals. I tell people that they laugh at me. I'm like, no, I think the kids that get used by the global elites and people like Epstein. Either you become part of the network or you become part of the Happy Meal.
I don't know that it's
Um,
quote unquote the Happy Meal because I
85% of McDonald's tests is positive for human DNA.
right, but I think how do I put this? There are people out there that are out and out cannibals, and they got to get their food somewhere.
Right,
You know, they're having
right.
the Obama type chefs cook up these special meals. You know,
Yeah. There's nothing more evil than forcing people to partake in your deviancy without them knowing. What do you think's in the pink goo? After you bleach it so many times, you're not 100% sure what's in there anymore. But when we test the food, it becomes DNA pops up. It's crazy.
mhm. And I did hear a thing I'll tell you about later, not on camera or not live. Uh, that coincides with your McDonald's theory, but I think that we had a restaurant. I don't know if it's still there, the Cannibal Cafe in downtown Los Angeles,
Yeah.
where it's ethically sourced. There's no such.
Yeah, there's a reason. See, people forget this cannibalism is not really illegal. It's the process of how you procure and process the meat that gets people put in prison. The fact that they're eating them is not technically in most states illegal. And I think that's by design. I think there's people who eat other people. They can't be told no. I'm so rich and powerful. I'm so influential that I should not be denied any aspects of the flesh.
And when like, just give you a quick example. I always check the yearly numbers of people who disappear in the United States.
It keeps going
No,
up. Yeah.
no, no,
I think
no, no,
it
no,
did.
no, no. 4 5 years ago, the number was on average 5 to 6 million people in the United States every year. But
Yeah.
recently, it's only 600,000.
Maybe the shadow war is a real thing. I followed all the Q stuff for a while,
Yeah,
dude. So
I looked into it, but no. What
interesting.
it is people like me started to notice, so they had to change the numbers.
Probably. I can see that too. They cook the
Yeah, I mean,
numbers all the
you and
time.
I both know
Missing 414 or is it 404 of the
missing
state
411.
parks and stuff? I mean, there's
Missing
places you don't go.
411. Like you like right now, even the most diehard conspiracy theorists will not go over a certain number when they talk about how many people have come into the country. And we know
Right.
damn well that whatever the number is, it's
It's
more.
more.
By how much?
Yes, 100 million here. I don't think America's 305 million. I think it's 400 million, and 100 million of them are foreigners. And it needs fixed. I'm a nationalist. I would probably have a much brutal approach to it than most people are comfortable with. And then that would cause a flood of people to flee the country. It's like, no, we're just going to blow your head off. Wow, you don't get any constitutional protections. You're not a fucking citizen. You're a foreign national. And you're a foreign national with a firearm, face the wall. Done. But we're getting this self-deportation thing, which is not, it's already hit the numbers of the Eisenhower administration and Operation Wetback. So it is working. It's kinder than what would actually be more effective.
Mhm. I don't think we're done by
Like,
a long shot,
it,
but I know for a fact we will never get back to zero. You know what I mean? It's
no, they're going for the H-1 visa people, but that's under attack now with tragedies like the U-turn of the 18-wheeler killing 3 people, and that really shining a light upon cultural differences of he doesn't show remorse because he believes everything's predestined and that you are going to die, and he's not culpable.
that,
Never mind the fact he
I'd
can't
not
read the road
I'd not
signs.
heard or even thought like that. I just thought he was a callous, shallow piece of human garbage that just didn't.
Hindus believe everything's predestined. So, in everything that bad happens was already foretold and predestined. Therefore, you're not culpable in any of this shitty things that happen. It absolves you of karmic responsibility.
And what people think that way?
In fact, I think it's
Really?
Hindus.
Yeah, that's a shitty way to go through life.
That's why you see a lot of these Indian guys when these terrible things happen. They're like, it happens. Plus, the fatality rates in India are so monstrous that when you talk about it, they'll call you a racist, but it's just like people get killed constantly in traffic all the time, like it's carnage.
Wow.
So they're numb to it. Then you have this philosophy of predestination. So
Yeah, how else could you live in a society like that without something like that?
1% of the world's vehicles are in India, and I think it accounts for like 10 or 15% of all vehicular homicides. Global.
That's fucking insane, dude. That's literally, like you say,
Math.
monstrous. Uh,
Yeah. Crazy. And that's reported. Think about some of these urban areas, these rural areas in India where rolling off the mountain because some dude plowed into you, not paying attention driving, is not reported.
and on off grid, I don't necessarily believe the statistics. I just know that that's all I've got to work with, and I've been doing this for a long time, for over a decade. So uh, the fact that the numbers changed so much, those statistics, if you will, lets me know that there's something bigger going on. I mean, I've known that since the '80s when we helped bring kids back home. Um, but it's just gotten worse, or
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe it's always been the exact same. I can't possibly tell, but I know that um, it's terrifying. I
That's what he's talking about off grid. That U-turn where he killed them people and just didn't blink, and that happens more than you think. The U-turn thing with the tractor trailer across 4 lanes happens a lot, and the fact that they are able to take these CDLs away from these guys by simply handing people a Dr. Seuss book and saying, "Read me 3 pages." Isn't that good? I don't think any foreign national should be in America working, period. I think that should be reserved for citizens and naturalized citizens. Yeah. That's it. It's like the Mexican trucks that come on. They got the blue plate. They come across, they do delivery. They don't go back. They start taking more freight inside the United States. And you can't, as an American truck driver, when you go to Mexico, you got to turn around and come right back. If you stay down there, you'll get killed. We should treat foreigners as they treat ours, and suddenly we'll be monsters. I'd also deport every dual citizen in the United States. Oh, you're a dual citizen? You're no longer a citizen of the United States. You're leaving, going to that country. Bye.
Which is weird because in the same breath they'll say, we're not the greatest country in the world, but yet we are. You know what I mean? Without realizing it.
They want the wealth. They want to feed off the corpse, just like our government officials and people in power are. They are feasting off the corpse of the republic. And I like to see the republic restored. I just disagree on how we get there. That's why I'm a fascist. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where I lie anymore. Things keep changing so drastically. Um,
yeah, I mean, you were given due process to foreigners who came in here illegally. We're here on a messed up perversion of the system, right? There's a need. The company creates the need so they can pay people less.
And then they wonder where their customers go, or why they have to lock up all their merchandise.
That's urban decay. That is urban decay right there. Maybe we'll get a change. I like to see a great resurgence. The Zoomers are going back to Christ in greater numbers. People are more aware of how the system is corrupt. We're finally enforcing the laws as written for immigration and getting people out. And the number one way to do it is benefits reform. There shouldn't be available to any foreigner.
Yeah, well,
That's how you make it solvent. And the one of the rules they're doing is if you get deported for being accused of a crime, you can never reapply to come back, ever. That's how they're getting people to self-deport. If we catch you with a traffic ticket and you're here illegally, you have broken the law. You broke the law getting here, and you broke the law while you are here. You are to be deported, and you cannot come back.
yeah, well, that's only going to be as good as the current.
The next administration, right?
Which,
I think you're seeing the Overton window and everything is swinging to the right. And that's why these lefties who are losing their mind, because they know it won't swing back without another 50 years of undercutting the system.
nice off grid. Yeah, we'll see. I have a feeling that their anger and whatnot is such that the next election they're going to win at any cost, even if they have to burn the whole thing down.
We are going to do away with their banning mail-in voting nationally, and that's where they cheat.
Yeah, there's other ways to cheat.
They've been stuffing the ballot box for years. They've been stuffing the ballot box for years.
Oh,
and some of these blue strongholds are never going to flip. That's why they want to do with the Electoral College. But I think you're going to see the Republicans. And here's the dirty truth about the MAGA movement. What they're getting mad about the gerrymandering and stuff are Democrats who've changed from a D to an R doing Democrat shit. That's what's happening. So, you can't do that. We're only the ones allowed to gerrymander.
You notice that too.
They're such hypocrites. And conduct the stand. Yeah, that's rough. Did you see the new night optics they came out with, the lenses with the nanotech? This is a new thing. It is a contact lens. It gives you night vision. It's powered off your body heat.
Really?
Using the yes, it's using the stuff that was in the shot though.
Oh,
it was using the graphene. Yeah, it's using graphene.
Oh, graphene. Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was terrifying as well. So.
Yeah, but they're finally using it for something useful. Night optics that are just a contact lens, powered off your body heat. We're getting there. We're getting to the weird future stuff already. I'm kind of cool with that.
Yeah, but I mean, how many of us are ready to do the cool future stuff that you get the stuff for? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be the hit squads that has that stuff.
Yeah, the same people off grid's talking about that they'll give you $100,000 fine for owning the crap. Will be the guys using the crap.
The Miltech's getting pretty neat, dude. I think I kind of want to design a shredder. I want to do a shredder where it shreds the Teflon in this perf shit.
That's insane.
It's crazy stuff.
Wow. They say may you be may you live in interesting times.
It's a curse, dude. That's a curse.
Yeah. The 80s were as interesting as I like, and
and people refer that to the decade of indulgence and excess, and I'm like, it didn't seem like that to me when I was there. And everybody wants to go back to at least the 80s. No one's saying let's go back to the 90s. They're saying we'll go back to the 80s. And I think we need to redo the national morality to be a blend of 1950s meets 1980s. A little bit more permissive than, say, the 1950s, but with those core values of the 1950s blended.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
It's funny, though. My younger self would not agree.
Me neither. I was an anarchist when I was younger, and I've gone full 80, 180.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the BDUs have been suppressing that for a long time, but now the modern stuff that that they do is just absolutely insane.
What is?
Reducing your heat signature so you don't show up on thermal.
Oh, yeah.
You got these skin suits that does a really good job.
Yeah, but they've also got, I forget what they call them. We call them sniffers,
Yeah.
where they can smell you.
So AI and optics on drones now can pick up movement and stuff. So that's where you got to worry about. And they're making them smaller so that you're getting to the level where a drone about this big can recognize your face, and if you're on the naughty list, land on your forehead and put a shape charge to your brain.
Oh, dude, they've had those since the '80s. I had since my dad had a gun shop. The ATF was always watching us, and one day I'm sitting in my room, after school. I just smoked a adult, party favor, and I'm sitting there, and reading a book, one of my D&D books, and I had this fan in the window, right? And I hear this in the fan. I'm like, what the hell was that? And I look down and I find what I thought was a dragonfly. It was missing its head.
Mm.
And it's, hey, what's up, Mac? And its head um, was cut clean off, but there's no liquid coming out.
Mm.
And instead, there's like magnets and shit in it. And then I found the head on the floor, also clean. It was a fucking drone, dude. It's like this fucking big, spying on our place
In the 80s.
in the 1980s. So God only knows what they've had, that we don't know about. What's up, Mac?
Probably smaller. Smaller. The drone and the application of drones to warfare has changed how we do it now. That's one of the reasons I keep track of what's going on in Ukraine, because it's just like Spain in 1930s, prior to the 1940s. Ukraine it changes how we do things. Artillery's still king. Drones are force multipliers, but it's deadlier. They're not really less than the numbers about how many Ukrainians are blown to shit, man. It is ridiculous. But the level of cruelty is different too, because I've seen some videos where the drones with the anti-personnel stuff will just hover and shadow people who are wounded until they beg, and then it lands on them and kills them.
No, it was a real thing that happened to me, Mac, back in the 80s, because my dad owned a gun shop, and the ATF was always watching us, and God knows who else, because we worked with with people who brought people's children back home from other countries for them after they'd been kidnapped, which reminded me of remember this word that we don't hear anymore. You guys remember the word ransom? When was the last time you heard that? Other than the phrase "king's ransom" in regards to something else. If you notice that never happens anymore, people don't ransom people off anymore.
Well, it's not talked about. I mean, people who can ransom, who can actually pay ransom, you don't kidnap poor people. Although there is a level of human trafficking where people get enslaved. That's how sex trafficking works. That's with especially with the cartels. You come over here, you owe them. You're a whore. You're a fuck doll until that.
Oh no,
that
debt is never paid.
Yeah, the attempted debt's never paid. Once you're in the loop, people buy into that stupid shit. It's like, but some people sell their kids into it so they can get over.
Uh-huh. Well, my point is that there's no ransom, because no matter who you are, no matter what level you are, the kidnappers, let's call them, can make way more money than you could ever possibly hope to get with ransom.
Yeah, selling you off. Unless someone's famous, and then people who are famous and their offspring are owed to other groups, or they can afford to sell.
Except like
Killer by
except what Mac is talking about when you go to Mexico. Uh, that's the only time that you'll hear the ransom thing, because they're going in for a quick buck. Everybody knows that you don't need to you don't need to kidnap rich people's kids here in the states, at least, because you can just kidnap anybody and make the same kind of multi millions of dollars with what they do with whoever they get.
I think it's lower than that. I think it's being done for such low numbers that we'd be more disgusted about.
Trust me,
That's the problem about mass production. Mass production lowers the cost, increases your profit, but the cost is lower because there's so much more product.
Mhm. Well, yes and no, because eventually that product gets used up, and oftentimes it's
Yeah,
used up rather quickly.
we need to sell off the parts.
Hmm. And there's multiple markets for that as
So
well.
that's part of it. There's a huge market for that. You donate your organs, they charge $250,000, but they never seem to have a deficit of these organs for the rich and powerful. Um, Ginsburg got 3 pancreases, 2 pancreases. What? How many pancreases did she get? Two, three, in her 80s.
No idea.
Yeah, she had pancreatic cancer not once but twice, so she had 2 organ transplants. You don't get a second organ transplant.
Nope. Well, not
I
us
mean,
plebes.
not as plebes, not as expendable people.
Yeah, that's why you don't go camping, except in large groups that are off grid.
Well, we always camp by ourselves. We're always armed to the teeth. I'd rather go down. That's the kind of way God wants to go, right? We want to go out making the stand. I'll never leave the country again. I have no desire to go to Mexico or even fucking Canada.
I,
The only time I'm going to roll to Canada is going to be on a conquering army.
I got one big trip left in me, and that's from here to Texas, and that's it.
I wouldn't mind going to Ireland and Scotland, but you know what? I don't want to go anywhere in the UK. And I want to take a boat. I don't want to fly. So I just made it more expensive and time consuming.
Yeah, I don't want to do either because I would open my mouth and end up in jail just by words. You know,
Yeah.
I
There's some places in Ireland I want to go visit where my family's from. Same way with Edinburgh.
I mean,
So,
unless I had like the world's longest case of laryngitis, I would just be in danger to myself going there. I just
yeah.
That's the only way to go, Mac. Eh,
Yeah, last time we went to a state park, we was in there and she goes, "What's that?" I was like, "Well, it's the pistol." You can't bring it in a state park. I said, "You're not supposed to bring it in a state park. You absolutely can."
I kind of have off grid among some other things. It's just it's did anybody remember not the last election but the one before that? You ever see that chart of how many people voted? The 60, 80
Yeah.
million people voted, and how 20 million people voted that just never voted again.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
They're printed in China.
No, well, maybe some, but I got to
Maybe
wonder
so.
how many of those people voted and then were never seen again, or maybe not
I think
that so much as that it just with the number of people that disappear, it just kind of balanced things out. You know,
the number of people disappearing is ridiculous.
I did the math.
But we grew up on there's hollers and places you don't go into. You don't go near certain caves.
I did the numbers for I think it was the year 2000, 2020 or 2021, and it averaged in the United States alone about two and a half or three people. I know how do you get a half? Between two and a half and three people disappeared, never to be seen again in every state every single day.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. One is pretty bad if you think about it. Every day somebody disappears, never to be seen again. One you could kind of
Ah,
chalk up to people just saying, "Fuck it," I'm leaving.
the Crown found out. Someone found out. Someone got payback. Someone discovered that the Fae might actually exist and got fetched. And then there's things we think we know about, and there's always that. I've always thought that transdimensional things happen. Like you could wake up you could walk into a different timeline. You could walk into you went around the hedge, the headstones the wrong way too many times, and now you're somewhere else. I consider that stuff possibilities. I also believe that there's lunatics among us who kill people, and I think there's a whole industry on harvesting us, especially people who ask too many questions.
I'll keep that in mind. No, I won't. It's weird though because hold on a second. I'll close this. I've been doing some soft research, and yeah, during a certain period in our history, it was a certain group, a certain demographic of kinds of people that it would happen to.
We're talking about blood libel again. Somebody's going to avoid that.
Yeah, exactly, Mac. But yeah, kind of. I get that too, Mac. But recently, it's been anybody goes, or anything goes. There is no longer a preferred type. Let's put it that way.
Right. Because adrenochrome is addictive.
There's that, but I think the various meat markets, literally, and labor, depending on the different types of labor, and just good old fashioned snuffery. Catch my drift.
Well,
Uh,
I don't think snuff film things are a big thing anymore. I mean, I guarantee they're probably still existing, but not into a large volume.
uh, yes and no. There was a time, the 80s and 90s were the height of that, I think.
Yeah,
But now,
yeah. I'd say those used to find snuff films in the
now
80s.
it's no longer it's not the films, it's the hands-on experience that the people are craving, which is even worse. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's pretty fucked up, and I'm glad my boy is no longer in a certain age bracket. But then again, like I said, I've been seeing people, in their 70s and 80s just disappearing without a trace. Now, mind you,
Yeah.
sometimes I know that it's just other people being shitty to one another. Let's kill grandpa
Yeah.
so we can hurry up and get our inheritance, or, cheating husbands and wives and other stuff like that. Oh, we've always been there, Mac. It just, it's accelerating to its, natural conclusion.
Yeah, they busted a guy, a Peruvian national. He said that his wife was abducted by ICE, but they got him on cameras dragging a big old bag that happened to be
Mm-hmm.
her. So took advantage of ICE being a good scapegoat and murdered his wife. It's weird. That's weird to me. But I don't understand people when it comes to marriage and stuff not being happy. I'm like, you marry the ones that make you happy. I'm confused.
Well, the whole dynamic has changed a lot.
Yeah.
Um, no fault divorce and divorce courts in general. Uh, and women's hypergamous nature, all you know bottleneck at a certain point that ends up screwing over a lot of good people
Oh
who
yeah.
you know
It's not worth it for men anymore to get married. I understand why somebody would kill somebody, but I also wouldn't. I don't understand marrying someone you can't stand. I don't understand.
well, I don't think it starts out that way, except
I know, but then you never really knew that person.
well, with women, they more often than not marry for completely different reasons, or at least that's what it seems.
Yeah, I get that. It's crazy.
Well, that's why we've got to change the laws and make that less appealing. When you can just get married and then decide you want out and walk out with all kinds of cash and prizes. Well, if you can't walk out with the cash and prizes, maybe you won't put yourself in that situation to begin with. But as long as there's that possibility. Hey, what's up, Brian? Yeah, yeah, that's true, Brian. But you know, 80% of the divorces, planet wide, are perpetrated by or initiated by a certain group of people.
Yeah,
You guys are probably the exception.
hopefully. It is my second
No,
wife,
I'm
after
talking
all.
about Brian from Weird World War II. They said shit.
Oh,
Me and my ex did, but we still co-parented our kids and are still pals, just not married.
yeah. Hey, Max, we're getting along. Some things came out that I'm like, that's unforgivable. Don't speak to me again.
Right, right. There are there are times when you just got to cut the cord and say adios, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, kids are grown. She's not active with the grandkids for shit. So, besides being at my daughter's Thanksgiving, I should never have to be in the same room with a woman again. And like I said, we recently were on good terms, but some things came out. And I'm like, that's unforgivable. So I think we're done. So
I hears you. So, what do you think? Want to do this again?
yeah, sure.
Maybe in 2 weeks. See what's shaking. Uh, I don't know about
Yeah,
you, but I need to use the little Dungeon Master's room, so I'm gonna call it a night and go see what's going on downstairs. It was good hanging out with you,
yeah.
Brian. I wish you would have showed up earlier. Mac, off grid, thanks for hanging out. George, wherever you are, appreciate it. If you got anything out of this, uh, leave a comment in the comment section. My first two exes are retarded, batshit crazy, and evil as hell. Um, I feel for you. I'm glad I'm just a one and done kind of guy, or at least that's the plan. Um, but Bubba, it was always good talking to you. I got some really good ideas. I'm gonna probably not break out the graph paper tonight. Uh, I was
I look at a
I,
little reading
I
before I
was
go to bed.
distracted by cool trees. Okay, Cal. Now that you're back, what was the thumbs down for? Because I have no idea. Off grid. I will see you soon. Remember, folks, I'm going to be doing this again tomorrow with Doc Flamingo, and we're going to be talking about his Age of Blood and Iron Part 2. But I'm going to go and take care of some stuff and maybe work on my Savage Sword module. And take
Later,
care,
man.
man. Everybody else out there, have a great evening and happy trails.